Hey guys, Joe East here again. It's been a while. We are still in Armageddon. So let's reflect on Armageddon in the spirit of the moment right now. What you're up to, what we're up to, what the hell's going on around here. We are going to mention the unmentionable. So what I'm going to refer to the chaos going on now, not with any media label that could be censored or used by the wicked side. I'm going to refer to it as the Abomination of Desolation, a biblical term, from both the New Testament and the Old Testament. So in Matthew chapter 24, verse 15, you start reading a little bit above, so let's say till verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, which we shall go to in a bit, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. That's a signal. You need to read deeper into this. There's a secret message here. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. You'll feel for your kids in this time, like, my kids, what about them, right? So we're feeling for our kids now. We're in the abomination of desolation days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Yeah, hard times. It's harder to do some things. And let's hope it's not overly hard. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. We're in historic times. Things that have never happened. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. In other words, a lot of people are going to get killed. Unless the gods give us some help. And then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. False prophets, false shit, fake news. Everything's fake. Let's go to Daniel in the Old Testament that prefigures this New Testament. Daniel chapter 9. Let's start with 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end to sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. So the abomination of desolation will reach into our temples, into our churches, into our holy places, whatever they may be. This abomination of desolation, the churches, the temples will not have power against this abomination of desolation. And for the first time in 2,000 years, we hear of churches shutting down and similar temples shutting down. Let's go to 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. the temple, the sacrifice, the offering. In Christianity, it's the host, the communion of saints. Or should I say communion? Holy Communion. Cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. The holy things will be stopped or suppressed by the wicked ones. And only the wicked one, the top wicked ones, can accomplish such extreme evil. Such extreme evil. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. So the place of sacrifice, your holy temple, your temple here or your temple where you go to, your holy place shall be made desolate. This abomination of desolation. Even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Very scary stuff from these prophets. I'm sure if you guys got other scriptures from other traditions, you probably have similar apocalyptic messages. We're in Armageddon, we're in the apocalypse, so those who don't believe in apocalypse or the book of Revelation, well, too fucking bad. We're in the book of Revelation or Daniel, Isaiah, whichever book you like, whatever tradition you come from. The abomination of desolation. So, how does the evil one take you, a spiritual being, rip down all the spirit out where we have mass atheism, mass materialism, which is an expression of atheism, and most religions talking about environment, political issues. The churches are into the environment, politics, saving the whales, saving the starving kids in Africa, which is worldly. They're not focusing on the gospel. They're focusing on worldly, material, or social justice sort of crap. What is that? That is essentially atheism and materialism in the spiritual institutions. They are essentially atheists. And that's a sign that a so-called spiritual institution is in fact atheist. They don't believe in spirit, is when they focus on these worldly issues of materialism, social justice, politics. That is not the realm for the holy. It's profane. Politics is profane. It's always been. So let's talk about how this materialization of the spiritual impulse. We all have spiritual instincts, spiritual impulses. How does the evil, wicked one take this impulse towards spirit and jerk it down into material? That way the material world is perverted using the spiritual instinct by transmuting it down into evil and nastiness and degeneracy. How does that happen? All right. Modern perversions. So essentially, the refusal of spirit, the refusal of taking this urge that we have towards spirit and refusal to go into the spirit and pushing it down into material world, that's the perversion of the material world. The material world has certain laws that it operates according to, mostly physics, chemistry, whatever. And if you violate them, you're essentially perverting it. Okay? So what drives modern man to this insanity that we're seeing around? The abomination of desolation. The focus on material solutions to spiritual problems. The perversion and the corruption of men to bring this spirit urge down into the material world so more profits can be made off of doing evil to people. Well, here's what happens. Spirit does not work on the conscious mind. It works on stuff below the neck. So this spiritual urge that's pushing you to do things, you're sleeping if you're not connected to it. Yet you are still being transformed because spirit is always there and spirit's always working. But if you're not connected to it, you're sleeping, essentially, because it's gone on disconnected from your conscious mind. And it's unknown. So therefore, if you are refusing spirit, boom, you're pulling it down into the material world of politics, material stuff. And this substitute for spirit, or this perversion of spirit, will express itself. It must. Spirit will always express itself. If you refuse it, it will just express itself as a perversion. Perversions include what? Addictions. Addictions to drugs. Again, physical chemicals that are a substitute for the spiritual bliss. Perversions. You'll take material things and use them in a perverted fashion to get that spirit high, but it's not a spirit high. It's a material high that is a perversion of the spirit high, or the spirit bliss. Insane political religions. Your spirit is compelling you to share your spirit learnings, your spirit teachings with others, and help everybody get raised up to the next spirit level of a higher spirit plane. That instinct is perverted and pushed down into political religions, you assholes. Those of you assholes who are into political religions, extremism in politics, trying to save the world and trying to kill off the damned in politics with your goofy justice, social justice, which doesn't exist. Only justice exists. You don't add anything to the word justice. If you add social to justice, it's not justice, it's a perversion. There's no such thing as magic justice in the material world. So this urge toward political transformation, environmentalism, all this other crap, is a perversion of the spirit. Environmentalism is like, oh, we're all one. We must connect with Mother Earth and connect with, stuff like that. It's a material connection. You're perverting the spirit. No, it doesn't want you to connect materially with anything on earth in that way. It's telling you to connect here in the spirit world. And then, yes, sometimes we can make the word flesh with creativity, but you don't work on the material and then try to transform it into, you don't transform the material, because that's perversion. So that's where perversion comes from nowadays. In fact, we're seeing so much perversion that people are like, what the fuck is going on with all these weird political movements that's like, these people are insane. Yes, they're literally insane, because the gods who are in control of the spirit are using their instincts to pull them up to the next spiritual level, but them being materialist and atheists, they're pushing it down into the material world, perverting the material world. It's a symbol. The gods are trying to wake them up. They're not waking up, so the gods are essentially allowing them to kill themselves. Because when you pervert material, that's essentially death. So this refusal of spirit will destroy his body and his material world for this type of man. And identifying these waking dead people, these meat golems, these possessed people, is easy. Look for the materialization of the spiritual urges. This urge towards spirit is being pushed down into the physical world. That is, you can identify a walking dead man very easy in that fashion. What else? Some other notes. Equality is another perversion of the spirit. So whenever Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. It's an ideal for someone standing in front of a court accused of a crime, or somebody participating in a political process. More or less equal footing for those participating in the political process, or more or less equal, whether you're a noble or a baron or a laborer, you can participate in the political process. as long as you're competent. So that's what the equality means. It doesn't mean anything else. However, in the perversion of the spirit, equality pushed down to the material world, equality pushed down to the material world, the physical world, is a perversion. Why? Because in the material world, equality does not exist, period. Now, if you're a reasonable person, you cannot argue with that. There is no such thing as equality in the material world. No human is equal to another human being, materially. For example, Jack is not equal to John. It just doesn't exist. Even identical twins, Jack and John, are not equal to each other. It doesn't exist. So equality does not even exist, even among twins. It's stupidity. So why are people assuming this equality in an insane fashion and trying to push it into the political world for an insane person? We're like, what are they doing? Well, they don't have any spirituality. They're pushing this urge down into the material world. The spiritual ideal of we're all equal in front of the throne of God, or we're all spiritual beings with equal access to this awesome level of spirit, this brotherly love that we experience as those who are spiritual folks, or tend to feel a sort of brotherly love with each other. They're trying to push this down into the material world as, John and Jack should be equal and they should be brothers. No, it does not exist in the material world. It is a perversion of the material. So they're taking charity, or caritas in Latin, and agape in Greek, those two spiritual urges of brotherly love, and trying to push it down into the material world. It's a perversion. It does not exist on the material level. It exists on the spiritual level, right? So this spiritual urge is perverted for atheists and materialists, those types. So for a degenerate atheist society as we live in, misinterprets this spiritual urge for absolute physical equality, sexual degeneracy, sensational overindulgence. Sensational overindulgence also includes overindulgence in the sex participation, overindulgence in drugs, overindulgence in eating garbage just to get that high that's a substitute for the spirit, right? And blurring the distinctions of physical reality. So, I got two different objects. The blurring of the distinctions is trying to materialize that spiritual urge where everything kind of blends up in the spiritual world, more or less. It can, it's more blended, whereas on a physical level, we're more, distinct. So it's a perversion on the physical level of that spiritual urge. It makes for a very evil person. And this is all the work of the evil ones, the top level evil archangels, Lucifer, Satan, whoever the hell you want to call him. It expresses itself in mainly political leftism, mainly. Some of the crazy rights and the stuff on the right, some of it is. Although in the modern world, there's really no right wing anywhere, but people assume there is. It's actually left wing. So yeah, these people have no spirituality, so they misinterpret the spiritual instinct, the instinct toward spirit, in his material, perverted, screwed up psychological madness. That's where we are, the abomination of desolation. Trying to transform the spirit, the material world into what the spirit wants. The spirit wants to transform. The spirit wants brotherly love. The spirit wants people to commune in equality before the thrones of the gods, or throne of God, or whatever. But you can't put that in the material world. That's a psychological madness. This is their wickedness. This is their perversion. This is what will kill them. And the abomination of desolation is desolating the material world, trying to take this urge and copy it down to the material world. That's the abomination of desolation. They will destroy the physical world with fire and brimstone. They will kill millions of people. Look at the 20th century, right? Taking this spiritual urge and pushing it down into political religions of Germany, Russia, United States, all these three main countries that pushed political religions into the world. Germany, Russia, United States of America. The pieces of the United States that are involved in political religions. We'll get to that in another talk probably, where we have identified the wicked ones from the United States who are actually the Pilgrims who arrived at Plymouth Rock and some of the Puritans. That English cohort that populated area of Massachusetts, Connecticut, whatever. A lot of those were involved in Satanism secretly, and we've recently discovered roughly who they are. The Salem witch trials were real. Salem, Massachusetts, the center of American power, Massachusetts. So the Salem witch trials were actually real. They were Satanists. It must have been an accidental thing where the secrecy of the Satanists got out there. And so subsequent generations tried to cover it up, because there definitely is Satanism in the Puritans and the Pilgrims of the United States. And those are the wicked ones who took over the world in the 20th century. We'll get into that eventually. So we kind of sort of know what's going on there, and the wickedness of the system, the abomination of desolation. It's been planned for a while, from the leading families of the Anglo-British Empire and those who are actually allies with this satanic empire. And that's what's going on now. The gods have called us to wake up spiritually, go into the spirit realm. And these wicked Satanists are pushing us back down. Essentially, they're going to destroy the world, or try to destroy the world. And we who are on the good side, the side of light, have to bring everybody up to the light. That's our job. We have to get rid of the wickedness somehow and transmute it. And that's going to be another lecture. But just to give you a flavor of where we're headed here with this abomination of desolation. All right, let me close this out. I gotta go eat and drink and study. I gotta study some physics. So guys, appreciate you watching this. Let me know what you think. Because as we talk to each other and we get the snowball rolling down the mountain, on those of us who have tapped into the spirit stuff, we got to figure this shit out. We're all being woken up. You are being woken up. I'm being woken up. We got ideas. If we stir them up together, we'll come to some cohesive knowledge. And we are. A lot of those who do a lot of spiritual work are essentially coming to the same conclusions about the abomination of desolation, whether you come from the Christian perspective, some Muslim perspective, I'm going to just call it the Gaia, or those who are just into pure meditation without any religious overtones. Some of the New Age guys. Again, I'm not talking about the wicked ones. I'm talking about the good guys of all these traditions. We're all coming to the same goddamn conclusions. This is essentially different language, obviously. The abomination of desolations, Armageddon, the end of the fucking world, the apocalypse, the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're all coming to the same conclusions that the dark ones are in control, and we must fight back and kick their fucking asses. The problem is that the wicked ones have been working for centuries on this plan. And so we have a lot of catching up to do before we inevitably kick their fucking asses. All right, close this out. Take care, guys out there. Be safe, and don't lose the faith. Keep your center of being, your certainty, your absolute certainty of your center of being. Keep that. Do not lose your absolute certainty of your center of being. Till next time.